So my name's Barry Cranford. I'm the founder of the Fractional consultant community. So we've got a community now about 1,000 fractionals, hopefully all members. But if you've come across this from YouTube or LinkedIn or something like that, then we'll be in touch afterwards, and you can sign up. So we run a bunch of different events. Most of the events are focused around how fractionals find work, because that's most of what our new members join to find out more about. So I find myself always in interesting discussions with various fractionals, various advisors, and people around selling, marketing, and how to find work. So I had an interesting conversation with Stewart earlier this year, which has now totally kicked off something internally for Referrals. Stewart, I think we were introduced, although we've known each other for maybe 15 years ago. Stewart ran something called Channel as a Service, and we just got chatting, and it was one of those conversations where, as we were talking, fireworks were going off in my head, and I was thinking, wow, we could probably do something like this. We could use some of this advice, and I figured from us, if it was useful for myself and for our business, it would probably be useful for a bunch of other fractionals out there as well. So hence we've got Stewart here to talk about channel partner programs and that kind of thing. Stewart, did you want to say a few words just to give some background of yourself, how you come into this?
Yeah, I'll give you some context. I'm not in my 20s anymore, so I've been doing this a while. So I started doing business development and channel models at a company called Microsystems. So depending on how old you are and how long you've been around, you'll know Spark and Solaris, or it means nothing to you. Spent a bit of time at Oracle, and then I went to work for a couple of smaller companies, startups, but they were big. So one was DataSift. They were 3 licensees globally of Twitter's Firehouse. So I built out channel sales there. And then my final proper job, actually getting a salary, was at Zendesk. So I built out the EMEA channel team there and some of the BPO sales team out in the US as well. And then I left, did a couple of things, and then thought, well, actually, I could get paid to go and solve the problems that really annoy me, which is around companies going into channel but not understanding it fully, and then messing it up, but then blaming it on the channel. So I've been doing that for about 6 or 7 years now, acting as a fractional consultant into B2B SaaS companies, trying to re-educate them, help support them, and get them going around that route of resellers, referrals, distributors, understanding all the acronyms that we have in tech around that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Stuart. I quite like that. So the problem that really annoys you, companies going into something, not understanding it fully, like probably jumping in too quick and then blaming the approach. I reckon that probably describes a lot of what fractionals do in their various kind of areas. But then for everyone, just to make sure we're all coming up to the same level, then what is a channel partner program? For somebody that's never heard of it, never used it, someone new to this, what does that look like, and why might a company want one?
Yeah, so simple way to look at it, and I'm trying to put some flowery pieces around it, but a simple way of looking at it is it's an indirect sales team that's working on your behalf. So think how Microsoft goes to market. 98% of their sales, 96% go through distributors and partners selling their software. So it's only larger companies that have a direct relationship with Microsoft. Most of them go direct. So a channel program is you've got a product or a service, and a third party is selling that on your behalf, and in return of that, they get paid for it, whether that's they refer your lead, they bring you a warm lead and say, here's Bob at Vodafone, I've already qualified him, I'd like paying, please. And that can be ongoing, or it can be just a one-time deal, etc. Or you've got resellers who basically go, I've got a portfolio of products and I'll sell them together. So I'll take Zendesk as a customer service platform. I've got some Google Workspace for my email. I've got these other things as well around that, and I bundle them out and then I sell them. But primarily resellers make a lot of their money on services, not just the licenses. And then to throw it really in the mix, you've got in the UK, we call them distributors, in the US called master agents, that sort of model. But essentially that's another tier above. So you have distributors who have a portfolio of resellers underneath that then sell the software. But we won't go into that space because that'll just, we'll go down a rabbit hole. The simplest concept is I've got something I want to sell. I can build a direct sales team, or I can enhance that as well with getting third parties to sell my product or services. And there could be multiple instances of that, but the sort of core aspects that I've come across is geography. So I'm based in the US and I want to come to Europe. I want to put boots on the ground, but that's expensive. Or I'm based in Europe. I want to expand. So I'm a Spanish software company. I want to come to England. So I can put boots on the ground and deliver that, or I can get a reseller to test the market and validate it before I come. So I do a lot of work around that activity and sort of proofing that aspect. Or it could be, again, sort of a complementary. You're looking to build integration partners. So again, a product or service you want to take to market, and there's some integration capabilities and you want to enhance what you're doing. And then you build a partnership with integration partners that add more value to what you're doing. There's a sort of multiple scenario, sort of light touch, without going really deep and loads of acronyms. It's basically got a direct sales team, I've got an indirect sales team. Whether they're resellers or referrals, they're acting on your behalf through a contract to sell products or services.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool. And that makes a lot of sense, again, as we were talking about before. So can we just go a little bit deeper into why a company would do this? I know part of this might feel obvious, but what are the benefits of doing this for a company, and which companies will it benefit?
Yeah, so again, things have changed over 20 plus years, but a lot of the times it's around geographic reach that I've touched upon in terms of I'd like to expand, but what I don't want to do is build a services team, a customer support team, and a sales team in every single country in Europe. Because according to America, Europe's just one place, but we know there's a lot of countries and cultural differences there in countries as well. Look at England. I'm in the north, people are in the south. There's cultural differences there. So a lot of times it's around, I want to expand my reach. I don't want to expand my OPEX and build out an office with a sales team and SDRs and service support and customer support in that language or that location. The other component is the scaling. So look at when I joined Zendesk, there was 250 people there. We took millions. Like I think the last round was about 80 odd million. And we were looking at a scale. So a lot of that money was going into hiring SDRs and sales teams and geographical reach. But we couldn't do it quick enough. We're getting ready for IPO. We've got 18 months. We need to go faster. Not really enough time for a sort of channel to make that much of an impact. But from that positioning point, it's like, right, actually, we can go a lot quicker if we start to get some partners in play that are complementary, that can start to build it out, whether that's referral or reseller partners, or Accenture, those sort of guys, global SIs and accounting firms, and whoever it may be that can take us to market from that side. So it's that speed to market aspect. And the other component is, I'm a software company. I've got my own software company. I go out there. Nobody knows who I am. They don't care who I am. But the reseller who's reselling to name brands or whoever it may be, they've already got the contacts. They want to sell something that's complementary, that can add value. Not that it makes them look good. It's not the right way to approach it, but it's complementary. It opens a different conversation. So they can reduce churn on their portfolio of products, not just one. And that's also the benefit as well. If you're selling software, going through a reseller, they're always acting to try and reduce churn, but acting as a collective. So they've already got the address book of CEOs and company names or whoever it is to go and open those doors. Because even when I was at Zendesk, we'll go into Maersk, big shipping company. We were in there for years. We got nowhere. Literally, didn't laugh at us, but every time, a bid or a tender came out, they might as well have Salesforce written in it, because they talked about Salesforce functionality. And it's like, this is so obvious. So what we started to do, sort of part of the challenges, was I started to build relationships into BPOs, global SIs. And again, it's a long play game, but we're building those relationships so that we could go into those companies. And now Zendesk, it's a big company, it's $1 billion, etc. It's got more opportunity of going in there. But at 250 people, it doesn't matter if it's 250 or 25 people or two, you're still a small name in a big fish market when it comes to enterprise. So that's sort of the core. There's a lot, there's various reasons clients come. Sometimes it's their investors are asking them to have a plan around this. So they've got a model that's blended in terms of direct and indirect, because that helps them. They understand that market. or it's speed, as I've said, or it's a way of them going, how do we open up enterprise sales quicker and get access into these customers? Let's go through a trusted partner that will have that conversation around that. And then there's all sort of fringe elements around services and delivery. And yeah, you don't want to be awake at whatever time differences with Australia, but you've got a customer there and they're going to sign a big deal. How do you do that? You find a service partner that can deliver locally and culturally as well. And the final piece for a stop is that cultural aspect. If you're selling into Southern Europe, selling to territories that are face to face, doing deals over a coffee and over a table, you're not doing it from London with an SDR doing outbound calling who's Australian. I always quote this because actually he was one of the best channel reps. But he started live as an SDR. He was from Melbourne. He lived in London and he was ringing out into sort of Southern Europe and stuff. And it was just frustrating because he wasn't getting anywhere. And we put him into the partner team and he started to do those activities. And the partners were having that because they were going out and they were walking up the street and sort of got to see the customers. Massive difference. Started to accelerate. We won some really big deals really quickly.
That's interesting. It's so interesting. Okay, now I did want to say, does this actually work? And can you give us some examples of where it has? I'm sure it does. I think you've touched on a few examples there that you've got, but any other examples where you've gone into a company, they've gone from not having channel partner program to having one, and it's made a big difference. Any other things that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Zendesk. Again, just massive difference to them. But again, it doesn't have to be just SaaS companies. I've worked with agencies as well who are looking to deploy, man hours basically, and they were looking at how do we build models to build ourselves out into different agencies, and I've seen that work really well. I'll flip that the other way, Barry. So there are instances where it doesn't work because part of my job and what I do when I'm talking to clients is this may not work for you because there's a couple of reasons around that. You may not have a product or a service or something that can be sold through resellers, and we need to qualify that aspect. And that's why I was saying about sort of a do what I do now, because what has happened is in the past, you go into a role as a channel manager and you're on an OTE, so you're getting 50% of your salary and 50% is commission. Life's great, you're a baller. But you get in there is no program, there is no partners, there is no support, there's nothing. You've been sold up the river, and you've been sold up the river around that side. And it could be actually that channel is not right, or the strategy that's been put in place is totally wrong. And I've been in that position a couple of times now when I've worked with clients and gone, we've done an initial workshop and go, this is not the right way to go. Actually, your best model will be just a basic affiliate marketing model rather than having partner relationships with referrals and resellers from that side. But this, from a channel side, it's not sector specific. So I worked in a chap that used to be ex-Oracle, set up a company that works in the mining sector of all things. So I wasn't, thankfully, flying out to Chile or the middle of Australia because it's like hell on earth wherever you go. But he developed some models that were AI driven before AI was cool and sexy, about reducing water waste and things like that. And that partner model was going through a large global enterprise billion-dollar company, and it was painful, but it worked because it was adding value to them from that side. Same again, could be customer service, financial services. So there's no limitation about the sector or where it's going to. The limitation is either the company isn't ready, they don't have the resources to do this and deploy this, or what they're selling or offering as a service doesn't add enough value to any partners to make it worth their while. Because at the end of the day, they're not doing it because they love you. They're doing it because that's their business, and it has to be a value. And you've also got to be aware everybody else is trying to sell them as well. They're all trying to say mine is the best product on the market. You have to go and sell it now, type of thing. I've just come out of an engagement in sort of the HR sector from that side and sort of job recruitments and things. And this company's really small, but they think that, I mean, they have got really great tech. It's awesome. But they just think all these top tier ATS partners are going to drop everything they're doing and just go and sell the stuff. And we've had to keep re-educating them. That isn't going to happen. It's a long play game from that. So you have to be aware. Sometimes it's the company. You've got to be in a mental place and a business position to be able to deliver against it, and not expect this to be, you know, the thing that really sort of grinds me is when people try and bring in a channel model as a fix. It is not a sales fix. Do not ever think that. If your sales isn't performing, you're going to do even worse on the channel, because the last thing I'm going to do is go to a channel reseller and say, got a great product. How long does it take for a sale? Oh, it takes 6 months. What's the cost of acquisition? It's £1 million. Oh, great. And what's my resources? Oh, we haven't got any of that. We've got some fag packet piece of paper. Some guy makes some outbound calls. What's your playbook? Don't have that either. You know, you've got to be in that mindset and that position ready to go from that, and treat the partner as if you're hiring a salesperson and you're ready to go with that process and can onboard them. A long-winded answer.
No, not at all. No, that's great. And do you know what? I was going to go a slightly one direction, but you've said a few things there that that I'm quite interested in. So you say there, it's not just the partner, like it's not a fix all like that. This is not a fix. I imagine engaging a partner is one thing, finding the right partners and that kind of thing. But then you've talked a few times about support, and they need to have the support. And you said, you know, you've got no playbook, you've got none of that. So what does a partner need? Like, again, I know it's quite an open, vague question, but what sort of support do these partners need once you've been established a network of partners, say?
Yeah, so the easiest place to think about, and the way that I deal with partners and the way I always structure my program, is I onboard them as if they're a new hire into the company. So they've come on board, they've signed a contract, they're going to sell you stuff, whether it's products or services, whatever it may be. But what they need is exactly what a sales development rep would need, or a marketing person or a salesperson. They need all those resources and support, because again, you've got to think this is a company that has sales resources and marketing, they're working with multiple partners. But if you haven't got the basics of knowing what your cold email outflow is, what's your funnel look like, what's the time to market, how long does it take to qualify, what's the qualifying questions, what's your competitor battle card, you know, you haven't got a sales process and a marketing model, they're just going to say, so basically you want me to build your marketing model, define your persona, build out my sales team, train them, and then I'll just train yours. You know, it's all these sort of elements. Without that, you're not even getting started, because that's like their first pieces out the gate. And we wouldn't even get to contract if that wasn't in place. Literally in due diligence, it would be all of that up front, looking at that under NDA and going, and they would rip it apart from that side. Because again, you know, they're being courted by multiple vendors come to market saying, actually, for me, the best sort of crux is, I when we were sort of looking at the partner strategy for Zendesk, it was, let's go to market with some of the e-commerce suppliers. They do $1 million deals. It'd be great. And it only took me about half a second to work it out. It was like, that is the worst strategy ever. Why are we doing this? But it's too late. Tickets are booked, sponsored some event in Amsterdam, which was great. It's fine. A couple of weeks, let's go to Amsterdam. But it became clear there wasn't enough value in that partner that was doing $1 million deployment, because actually at the back end of that was probably 3 customer service agents. So that's 3 seats of Zendesk at $59, and they're making 30% on it. It's not even buying a cup of coffee, and there's no services. So when we sort of looked at that strategy again, I did an overview. It was, well, actually, Google partners are really good. They sell email, they sell seats, so they get the licensing model. They sell lots of services, and they sell a problem that can be solved by Zendesk, as in a lot of people use email as a customer service platform. So they sell filters and they've got all this stuff going on. It's all crazy. So they could go in and go, we're not competing with your email seats. What we want to do is transform some of those into Zendesk seats for customer service. And there's a lot of services around that to do that aspect as well. So it could be, we've got 100 seats at $59 and we're getting 30% on that, but we've got a multiple service agreement going on over time. So it helps sort of positioning piece from that in terms of what's that value to them. So these are crux of things that they need pre-contract to sort of go through that type of thing. But then post-contract, it literally is onboarding them as if they're, treat the, I always say this and I make it really clear, you have to treat a partner as if they're a member of staff. Trust them, make them aware of stuff. Don't tell them about things, about price increases 5 minutes before you tell the market. Do not ever do that. That's a fight, that sort of thing. You've got to treat them. So you bring them on board, and you have to have those processes that you're confident can sell, whether it's products or services, whatever you're offering, and transform it to them. And sometimes they may do even better. I've seen it in fact, I've seen it lots of times, because they're not bound by internal politics or restrictions or people bum fighting. It's literally they'll take some of those materials and some of that messaging, and then they will alter it accordingly for the culture and that market, and then really go to market around it. So it's not fixed getting channel partners, whether it's referral or reseller, and it's not something as simple as courting them, get a contract. It's about owning that partnership and that relationship with them, developing it, and then building out your business strategy with them, your sales go-to-market plan, doing QBRs with them, doing all the sort of aspects that you would do as an internal sales team with them, and treating them as if they belong to the company. If it's abc.com, it's like that. It's like they're on payroll. They're not, but it's the closest thing you're going to get.
Okay, amazing. Okay, that's perfect. So what does a typical fractional engagement look like? So if you were to go in, so let's say one of the people on the call has a client that's not struggling with sales, as we say, it's not a fix, but is has a sales thing and is thinking, actually, this sounds like something that I could introduce to my client. What does this look like? What does kind of week one, month one, year one look like? What's the timescales there?
Yeah, so a typical engagement for me is we'll have a qualifying call with a question. I'll be right, okay, and I'll go through, are you ready for this? Have you got those resources and such? And that engagement is like, right, okay, let's go ahead. So I always start off with an internal workshop of, you've told me X, not that I don't trust you, but let me go and speak to people in the field. So let's go and speak to head of marketing, people in sales. So I run those as mini workshops to understand what resources do you have that they have that you've told me they have, but actually they may not have. And that normally lasts for at least sort of a couple of weeks, just going through those calls and summarizing that. And from that, literally, that's sort of my accelerated first month if I was in a job. I just do that very quickly. But it's understanding so I can pull a report back together of, we're ready to go. You do have everything that you said. I've qualified that. I have a general overview strategy of where you want to go to market really quickly, and we can move forward. And I do that it's a get out of jail clause for them of, because if the outcome of that, you pay me for it, I'm not doing it out of the love of my heart, but actually, if we do that now, it can save 3 to 6 months of pain if we identify that actually you have got everything that you've got, and we can go to market and get started. And from there, normally my engagement can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on the size of the company and the sort of project of building out what we call a channel program. So doing that qualification, finding the partners, building all the collateral and material that's joint partnerships, building legal agreements, educating the internal sales force about what's going on, helping them identify the low-hanging fruit for finding partners. This is my goal. If there's one thing you remember from them today, you have partners in your customers now. You just never ask about them. It's the low-hanging fruit. It literally is. Dave, who was on the call, we had an engagement together, and that was the first thing was, let's go back through our customer base in where we were jointly working, because we already have partners in that side. And it is literally low-hanging fruit of understanding who they are and what they do. And they could be consultants, it could be service partners, they could be resellers, it could be anybody around that side. So we start to understand that. And I normally with the client and sort of bring them on board, I'll have a weekly engagement as a sort of status update, but also a check-in of, are we on the right path here? Because I'm looking at over here, and is that still the right direction? Or has there been any change in the company or structure or thinking or rationale where you're going? And then over that sort of 3 to 6 month period, building out that collateral, that material in the program, identifying partners and starting that initial outreach to see. Because again, it is a bit of a volume game. You're going to remember there's thousands of potential partners, but there's thousands of potential vendors reaching out to them as well. And over that time, my role is deliverable. I'm not there for salespeople. I'm not doing sort of selling stuff in a sense. It's not a risk or reward model. It's very clear. I'm here to give you a basic. I'm working myself out of a job. The quicker I'm out there, the better. And that sounds pretty stupid, but it's literally, if I've done a really good job, you're ready now to make a decision of hiring somebody that we'll find together and we'll do a transfer of knowledge. They're ready to go and have a success plan because they've got a strategy. They may not agree with it, but they've got something to get started with and get going to market. Or you can reallocate resources internally. So a couple of engagements ago, this is what we did. We transferred some of the SDR team into the channel team, and they became junior partner managers. Company got acquired, and now the whole strategy is around channel. Those guys are smashing it. I need to ask them, where's my Christmas card? But that engagement, and then when we get to that period of, right, okay, we've got partners, we've got it qualified, we're starting to move forward, I can act as your channel partner manager and do the day-to-day business with them. I can act as the mentor to the people that you're bringing in, or I can just walk away, you're good to go, and if you need me to come back in, you can bring me back in as a resource at a later date from that side. So the longest engagement I've had has been 2.5 years. And the shortest has been 3 months, where it's literally, we just want you to build the stuff. We sort of know what we're doing, but we ain't got the time and resources or the energy, and we can't be asked to go and sort of do this. So you do that for us and do a knowledge transfer.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Do you know something you said there around the low hanging fruit? I think you said when we first spoke, I probably won't say it quite as well as you did, but something around there are people out there that already know your potential customers and you just need to find them, or something like that. That was how I think you described the low hanging fruit before. I think it's just so powerful, you know, who's already talking to the companies you want to get into, who's already trusted by the companies you want to get into. And if you can just
reach out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so just quickly, again, just trying to get a still high level overview of the whole thing. How many partners do you want? And again, I'm sure that's how long is a piece of string, but is there a kind of and I'm guessing quantity is much better than quality here. I can imagine some partners perform much better than others will. But do you have any kind of thoughts on that kind of thing, like quantity over quality? Sorry, numbers in general.
I have my own opinion. So we'll take two sides of the story here. So Microsoft pats itself on the back on the number of partner contracts it has signed, not the number of engaged partners. My opinion is, and always has been, always will be, it's quality over quantity. I had a role at Sun where I was about adopting startups into the program to try and get them using Spark and Solaris. And one of my KPIs was the number of those startups that signed up to get a newsletter and some other collateral material. Waste of time. I got paid. It was great, but a waste of time. And in partners, what partners don't want and what a partner manager doesn't want is lots of paper, so contracts that are sat there on the shelf doing nothing with no activity. And it's great on your website. Oh, I've got 5,000 partners and here's all the logos and there's Accenture and Billy and Bob. A typical partner manager will manage a 1 to 10 ratio, 10 to 1 ratio. So they'll have 10 partners under them that they're managing. And again, not all those will be active, but they'll all will be active and moving forward. Whereas the actual vendor itself always needs to look at, they may only have 3 partners, but those 3 partners are smashing it and doing millions in ARR because they've got a business plan and a strategy around them and they've got engagement, and it makes commercial sense to keep that small. Because again, so there's a vendor side, and from a partner side, it's like, right, okay, who are your other partners? And we're going to have what's called a partner council. So every 12 months, you get all your partners together and you all pat each other on the back and how great it's been. If there's 5,000 partners in the room, like Salesforce type of thing, that's great because they've all got their own territories and stuff. If you're a smaller organization, You want partners that are strategic, that are going to go out there and work for you, because they know they're not going to be stepping on another partner in the same deal. That's just like, yeah, not going to happen. It'd be like allocating a sales territory to 3 people and saying, just go and fight it out. Whoever gets the deals wins, sort of thing. So it's always me, the way I set up and structure any program is around the quality and identifying those partners. And the actual quantity is just variable. It's based on how much that business wants to grow, whether it's a strategic sort of service play, is it a territory position? So you want to go in, move and expand into different territories, so go that way, rather than pieces of paper just to tick sort of KPI boxes from that. So yeah, literally the first question a new partner will ask when you reach out to them is, who are your other partners and how many do you have? Because of what they want to hear is you've got a strategic plan that you're going to work together, and you're not going to drain those resources to have 1,000 referral partners that don't do anything. Literally, when I started at Zendesk, I got a spreadsheet of referral partners, and I did the data analysis, and it was like, so we've wasted time with the typical sort of 100% of these, and we've got about 3 deals out of 3 of them. Why are we calling this a win? This is draining resources. We're playing the wrong game here. We're not focused on where we should be, and that's what a salesperson would do. They'd focus on where they can win the market, not on, typically it's like, my pipeline looks like this. Actually, my pipeline looks like this. It's like, it's tiny and small. It's just, I've got loads of engagements going on, but I'm just spinning loads of cycles doing nothing. They're not going to close. People have different answers to that, but that's always been my standpoint.
That's interesting. It makes a lot of sense, I think. I'm just going to ask one more time. I'm sure you've said this and covered this, but just one more time, a slightly different way. You say like you might only have 3 partners, but they're amazing. And then you've got like Zendesk that had 1,000 and stuff. How do you, again, for anyone listening here that's building these partners, how do you make more of those 3? Like, how do you go from 1,000 to 3? How do you really squeeze the best out of those partnerships? What's the difference between the good, the engaged, the people that are regularly there, and those that are just not doing much for you? Have you seen any kind of anything there?
Yeah, so again, it's just that engagement and sort of working with them and making them aware of they are part of the company and there's a strategy there. So there's a couple of options of making them sweet. So you can pass leads back. So it's like, right, okay, we've got some leads in Spain. Let's pass it back to the partner. Let's lead with that aspect. But it's about, we're going to have a partner council, so we can bring you together and collectively, you've got partners with different skill sets. So between you can share deals. So you may have one partner that's really good at reselling your products, another one at services and integration. Bring them together and they can work together around that side. When you do marketing plans, make it easy and simple and automated for them. So what you tend to find then is those partners that really want to work understand that you're going to put the legwork in as well and will engage with you and do it that way. And it's all trust. You're building up trust. But the key aspect is these are partnerships. It's relationships. It's two-sided. If you go out like when I was at Oracle, the partners are scum. They're just here. They're just here just to do our legwork. We don't treat them. Everybody's treated the same. Doesn't matter. But you're here to do you're at our bidding because we're Oracle. When you're in a smaller company, obviously you can still do that if you want to. You just won't be successful. You need to work and identify those partners that are going to be your strategic ones that you're going to have a relationship with, and it's a long-term partnership. So I got a message the other day from one of the guys I brought on as one of the first UK partners. They'd won some awards last year, some triple awards from Zendesk. It's like, so we've got a 10-year reunion going on at Zendesk in a couple of weeks' time. Like, bloody hell, I was trying to work the dates back. And he's still a partner, but we still have conversations now. He was proud of the fact he texts me. It's that sort of thing you have when you're a partner manager and you're working in that position. You have long-term relationships. Similar to if you were a salesperson, you would have long-term relationships with your customers as well. And that's how you identify it. The ones that don't want to do any work or activity will just say, give me your marketing stuff. I'll send it out to my email list. I don't want to do a business plan. I don't want to set any goal-ins or metrics around it. Literally, I'm just going to do the basic things that I need to do. And again, you try and qualify that as much as possible pre-contract. But there's lots of niceties pre-contract. It may be a positioning piece from their side that they want another vendor that fits a gap, but then actually post-contract, it's only going to fit a gap for one customer, not 100 customers. So yeah, key relationships. It's just that's what you need to do.
Yes, like you say, it sounds so similar to just basic relationship management and sales, in general, but just with partners. So yeah, okay, cool.
The old adage is in corporate, was partner managers just carry salespeople's bags. It's stuck with me forever, this. And it's not true. And it's hard to prove that because salespeople were top dog, they're out there doing the deals, and the partners just came in and scooped it all up. And it's not. It's because they own those relationships with their customers from that side. And it's just the crux is that relationship is key.
Okay, cool. One of the questions we did have on was, let's say somebody already has a solid partner program and is now looking to get into like a new territory. What would be your recommendations? Where would you start? What would be your first steps?
Yeah, so the first thing would be is looking, again, I'd just start with that basic research, but I'd look at the partners that have, and again, it's a simple thing. It's right in front of your face. Some of those partners may have geographic offices in that new territory. So you may have a portfolio of 10 partners and do due diligence, but I've never asked them before, but actually they've already got offices in France or Spain or in America, or they've got sub offices, or they have vendors that are already in that position. So again, it's low hanging fruit. Always look at the things that are staring you in the face, but you don't realize are staring you in the face from that side. And also qualify, not every territory that you may be entering into is going to be partner friendly or have the sort of setup that meets your criteria or what you're trying to do. If you try to deliver services and you want to break into a certain territory, again, it may not be partner led, and it may be a bit more conflicting. So I'd look at that side, but I'd always sort of look at who we have now in the portfolio, do that research, have that conversations, but also again, so I used to have I did have a partner in Malta. He's still in Malta, but it was around that sort of conversation of they came to me and said, we're looking to expand into Italy. Would you support us? It's like, well, I can look at what the pipeline's like. Italy is a small country for us, but we can support it geographically and that sort of thing. So we can look at a joint venture together where we go and test that market out as well. I can take it back into the internal team and see if we can get some market development fund to try and support it as well. So again, it could be asking those partners, I want to go and break into Eastern Europe. Are you looking to expand there as well? It's again, and it comes back. I know I keep harping on about it's that relationship. It's having that dialogue going back and forward. It's not, my other sort of big bugbears, do not treat partners as a transaction partner. They're not transaction partners. If you want that, you can do. That's called an agency, and they can just transact for you, and you never have to talk to them ever again.
Got it. Okay, cool. I think Ian's had a question here. Stuart, should you set targets for?
We broke up a bit there, Barry. I don't know if it's you or me.
I'll fill in for him. My question was, should you set targets for channel partners and resellers, Stuart?
Yeah, definitely. It's part of your business plan with them. So what I tend to do is once we've got a contract and we're all lovely and we've been out for dinner and it's great, it's like, right, okay, let's talk now about the areas that we're going to target together. Let's look at customer overlap. So let's do sharing across that side, whether it's using a product called Crossbeam, and can't remember the other one, but there's a couple of elements like that where we can sort of link our entities together and then build that strategic plan with some targets. And again, it's a similar sort of model of, if you bring a salesperson along, again, I know I'm ranting a bit. You wouldn't sit him in the corner and go, right, I'll give you no resources or no goals, just get on with it. It'd be the same again. It's like, let's set some targets, let's make them achievable, and let's build upon them around that, and let's revisit them as well. And it keeps that, one, it shows that you know what you're talking about and they're just not there as a piece of paper. but also it's very clear about what that expectation is. The expectation is you want them to go and do some activities, and they can then come back and say, well, how can you support me in this activity? And you have a dialogue around it. So it's a joint activity. You can go to market together, or they can do it on their own, knowing that you want X amount of leads or X amount of revenue or X amount of whatever the objective is.
Okay. Also, I think we had a question from Alex as well. Is my internet coming through okay? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
You were cutting out for
Yeah.
24, man. Alex, did you want to go ahead and
so Stuart, please feel free to ignore the question if you think I've come at this the wrong way. So I'm a partner of a number of different large firms through my technology consultancy, and yet because we're so small and they're so big, I don't really feel like I'm getting much interaction out of them, apart from here's some training videos, here's some training material. So none of it really feels like a proper sales partnership or anything like that. Do you have any tips for when the size of your partners are so imbalanced?
Yeah, so if I was in your shoes, I'd approach them and put it to them in terms of what's that criteria for. So do you have any partner manager allocated to yourself, or is it just literally
not big enough?
Yeah. So is it, and do you resell or refer or do both?
Excuse me. Very little.
Right.
As in, we would do technology that uses them so that they would get money eventually. Whether that's reselling or not, I'm not really sure.
Essentially, do you put their product on your paper? Do you contract to the customer? Yeah. So you sell their products on your paper. So they have an obligation to work with you because you're selling their products, because you're representing them and passing their terms through. What I would do is I'd go back to the ones that you actually have done the most deals with or makes most value to you, and put forward a plan of, okay, we've done, I don't know, so we did $1,000 last year. The numbers are relevant, but we did X in 2023 with these 3 vendors. Go back to them with a plan of, I'm really going to invest in you guys now. You're my top 3 or top 1, whichever it may be. We did X. How do we do 10 times more? Don't keep giving me the crappy partner portal stuff. I want to have an engagement and understand how we do that. If you get a response back, great. If you don't invest any more time. Keep doing what you're doing. But again, it's like when I was at Oracle or when I was at Sun, you had partners in different tiers, and internally there was always a metric that said you can't do X, Y, Z. Whereas at Zendesk, obviously in smaller companies, you could do whatever you want. And that's, like I say, I hedged my bets on some smaller resellers who really smashed it. And it was a risk and it paid off. But again, just as a partner manager, it could be that they've got internal metrics that say, well, actually don't engage with anybody below X. But if you go back to Alex with a plan and say you want to commit and want to do this and set some goals and objectives around it, they're open to have that conversation with you. Because you're already reselling on their paper, taking them into places. Basically, you're giving them free money, aren't you? They're not giving you anything back. You are giving them free money. It's like, there you go. Thanks a lot. I've just done this one. But how do I do more? And I'd be happy, we can take some of this offline to give you some resources and some material and that sort of thing and how to approach it. And some of the terminology as well. So at least you sort of go, right, okay, yeah, there's a plan here. And then you'll qualify them. That's the way I look at it.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
No problems.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Ian there. I'm going to switch lanes just a little bit here, Stuart. So I feel like that's it. We've got the idea now of this, and hopefully everyone, if anyone's got any connections there that can help, amazing. What I'm interested in is, could a fractional, in theory, a fractional CFO, a fractional CTO, someone like that, create a channel partner program of their own? Like work with other fractionals, recommend other fractionals, bring other fractionals in. It's borrowing part of obviously what you've learned in these much larger companies and organizations, and putting this into a fractional basis. Could that work? Where does your mind go when I start asking questions around that? Like, if pick on one, like Francois, for example. If Francois wanted to create a, sorry, just because you had your camera on, wanted to create a channel partner program there, what would he do? Could it work? What would the first steps be, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's two sides to this, isn't there? It's like the devil on one side and the angel on the other, sort of thing. So, you know, in a fractional aspect, let's put it, I'll put it into my context. So I work now for an agency that focuses in the HR sector. So I go in, I just do my channel partner stuff, but there is missing gaps in their solution that they can go to market with. So, you know, I've put forward David and some other people as well that could fit some of those gaps. I'm not expecting a payment from that if anything came of it. I'm just doing it because I'm kind. So there's that model. But then there is also the fact of, again, you know, if you're working in an agency or you're working direct with customers, they're in the same problem and they're already in similar Slack groups that we're in now, similar communities, similar spaces that could refer you customers and that you could give them a payment for or something else in kind against that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a money transaction. It could be that you reduce your rate. But it comes back to the whole thing again of all of us have got customers that we work with that spread across the board in terms of what they do and what they deliver, and have got gaps. And I've been in multiple of these over the last 7 years now, where it's literally, do you know somebody that does marketing? Do you know somebody that can become a VP of sales? Do you know somebody that can act as an interim CRO? Or again, when I'm having my conversations, and I've always sort of said, okay, I can do that piece and we can bring somebody in. And I can do it as an open book policy because it's just me and go, right, okay, actually, I don't want paying, but this is really great. Come back to me later on, and it can be non-contractual. Or I can do it as, actually, I'd like to do this as part of a sort of business plan and take some payment for it as well, because it would help me then say, what I'm going to bring to you is a set of people that are really qualified, that I work with, that I know and I trust, not just some random person from LinkedIn that I may have had a conversation with around that side. So I'd look at it in terms of, you can use it as, I can refer people into you and there's a payment and a contract against that, or I can bring people into you that are qualified and do the same sort of thing, but it's of benefit to me on a scale of, if there's no marketing person in an organization, I can't do what I do. Literally, I am just stuck. So if I refer somebody in, it helps me deliver that business to that company and that customer quicker from that aspect. If there's no marketing person, if there's a marketing person, but they need some junior person, there could be a benefit to me of just bringing somebody in and I get paid against it because I know that somebody's looking for a role from that side. So, but there's two sides of it. It depends where you are in your business and how comfortable you are, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it as a fully structured getting paid against it sort of thing. So don't, put part of that to one side, think of it, what the benefits are. And that's the same as if you were a SaaS vendor looking to get referrals for your product. Not every one of them is going to close, and not every referral partner that I had, whether it was at Zendesk or at DataSift, wanted paying because they couldn't get paid. Same again when working with the call tracking company. Large tier agencies have an open book policy, and if they take payment of whatever kind, they have to have it as an open book and declare it. So a lot of the times it would be, I don't want to have payment, so I'll have a referral agreement, we'll pass it back and that's fine, but at no payment. The fact is, if you take me out for dinner or we go away for a weekend, that's just a business expense around that side. So there's multiple ways of looking at it, but you've got to also be aware of, obviously, either if it's government aspect, especially the US, or sort of legal entities and things like that. If it is a payment transaction, it could be an open book, open accounting type policy as well around that. So there can be some complexities.
Interesting. And it strikes me, if I was a fractional, listening about the different bad partners. Firstly, again, I'm saying it's coming up, my internet's unstable, so I'm hoping that you can all hear me okay. But there's so much that we can, okay, I might be breaking up. Can I get a thumbs up? Am I coming
No,
through?
go for it. Talk.
Okay, I'll talk fast. It strikes me that there's a lot of things that people could do from what you were saying about how to engage, going from partners to better partners. Like if you were a fractional CFO and met a fractional CTO, then there could be marketing collateral. You could send one pages and things like that, and again keep in touch with each person and just try and make that happen. That's what's jumping out to me from what you're saying, that there's opportunity here. I don't know that it's fully formed in my head exactly how that could look, but
yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be just people. So when I'm engaged in a typical engagement, it's like, right, okay, what CRM have you got? I've got no CRM, or we're thinking about it. Okay, well, I'll recommend HubSpot to you. Great. I get a kickback from HubSpot. It's a referral link. Away you go, you deploy it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but there is joint venture aspect. So a couple of years ago, I was working with a chap in the US who's no longer with us, a good friend of mine, and we were doing sales. So he was going in, I was going in from the channel side, or he was going in of, I'm priming this in terms of a sales engagement and sales training. And part of that strategy is the need channel. So we do joint propositions together and go in around that. And either he'd be the billing partner and I'd get payment from him, or I'd do a kickback of him going, right, I've primed it. They're all trained, they're all ready, they know what they're doing, they're good to go. And the next strategy is in it, need to go channel. Right, okay. So you pass that to me and I get a kickback. And he'd declare that to the customer. I declare that as well. So there's multiple models that you can go around there. It doesn't necessarily have to be people, but it can be joint ventures going in together where, again, it just makes sense sort of thing to go in, whether it's CTO, that sort of level, whatever it may be, but there's opportunities around that. But it doesn't necessarily have to just be services as well. It can be, you can get a kickback from you can basically be a reseller of software or a referral partner of software and get some kickback in perpetuity for just doing that link. So once you've engaged from that client and left, you can still be getting paid a couple of years later. Well, depending on HubSpot are changing all their partner terms at the moment, but there's that potential as well.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, guys, that's all my questions. Does anyone else have any questions for Stewart based on any of that? Got anything else there?
I do have a little deck that explains all the acronyms as well that I've just waffled that I'm happy to share out as well. So it explains some of the language about VARs, resellers, distributors, all that sort of thing. Gives a bit of an overview. It's like a training material that I use internally, which if that's helpful, happy to send that out.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. We can then distribute that to everyone that's that signed up and send the video as well.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for being here. Stuart, massive thanks.
Thank you, Stuart.
Really
no problem.
Interesting stuff.
Always good to talk about channel and waffle about it and just educate a few more people every time. It's just worth it.
Yeah, 100%. No, that was gold, mate. Really appreciate it. Cool. For everyone else, we'll see you all soon.
Cool.
Listen.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.